Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a nice Friday morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. Um, Today, so I'm with Q, and in case you missed previous live streaming sessions, so we had a quick break last week because we were showing hackathon projects, but otherwise, what we're doing is we're building an alternative to Doodle with WeWeb, and we are inspired by rally.co with three L's, RALLLY.co, which is an awesome like open source, like no ads, nothing alternative to Doodle. So today we'll focus on the calendar screen and like the logic behind that calendar. So a couple of weeks ago, Q showed how to design that screen, and today we'll focus on the logic.
Yep. So let me share my screen. Okay. So, do you see it? Yeah.
Yep.
So, spoiler alert, this is for later, but what we wanted to do is this to. Why is my cursor? Yeah, I just want to display my cursor, sorry. Yeah, okay. So, the main thing we wanted to do now that we have like this design, because as a reminder, we're here inside WeWeb, is to get like to categorize the dates, like the current days for the current month, and then we'll do the logic also to like get back a month or like advance a month. So have all these days, but also having like what we would call the leading days and the trailing days. So technically days that are in the month before and the month after, but that we still want to display because they were like in the first or in last week, but that we want to um, display differently, also maybe prevent people from booking them, but still we want to display them. So for this, we'll use kind of like, we'll use low code basically, and even JavaScript code to do this, to get the current date, the current month, and also get these days that we want to display differently. Because doing this, having like the whole list of days for the whole week predetermined before is like it would be really complex, and depends also on when the user wants to book, want to do a poll. So what we'll do is that we'll use JavaScript and base ourselves from the current date. And as a good developer, what I've done, so let me zoom on this and send you this link, is that I didn't do anything by myself. Is that I've searched for some people that had this problem, and actually there's a lot, because there's a lot of apps that want to build calendar widget, even like people that created calendar libraries that we use inside WeWeb did have this problem, obviously. And so we'll use this inspiration to build inside WeWeb.
Yeah. And just to be clear, you don't actually like if you want to do everything in no code, you actually can. There is a calendar widget in WeWeb and in a lot of no code tools. This is because with calendars, very often you, depending on your business, you might have specific use cases. So you might have specific design requirements, and you might have specific use cases. For example, we have a customer who only wants to make it possible to register on the first day of the month. So stuff like that. And then it helps to understand how it's working behind the element and to do a little bit of low code.
Exactly, because you get like to 80% of the needs with the normal elements, but if you have like something really specific, you have to build it.
Yeah. And so Takunie is saying he missed the design session. So that was 2 weeks ago. And yes, absolutely. You can get, so I'll send you the link in the chat. It's on the YouTube channel. You have all the replay basically. So I'll share the link.
So basically what this guy is doing is kind of like a calendar, how we want to use it. The only difference is that he's got more like weeks, but we'll adapt the code to match our calendar. But basically, he was creating 3 functions that we'll reuse to get to have like the trailing days, the days of the current month, and also the leading days, days of the current month, and then the trailing days. So to do this, is done a simple function that I will explain, and I will explain a bit to you also how the date API works in JavaScript, because that could be useful all the time you're playing with dates, basically. And that's a big subject also, especially in web apps, because one of the biggest subjects in web apps is time zones. So we won't enter on these details now, but know that you will have to handle time zones in your app most of the time if you're having users from the whole world. And that's where like the date API from JavaScript will help. So the first thing it's doing is like it's a function. I will zoom again so that you really see it. When you enter a date and a starting day. And basically what this does is that it will get the year, the current year for this date, the month for this date, and it will ask JavaScript to give back to him the day of the first, like it will tell the first day of the month, and it will ask, was it like a Monday, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, you name it, so that it will know, compute the difference, and it will know that it will have to add like all the days from the Monday up to this day. So I will show it to you in the dev tools. Okay, let me push this here, go to the console, remove the errors, because it seems like Medium has a lot of errors, and zoom inside my console. So this is basically JavaScript. I don't know if you know, but this is like the console for like JavaScript from the current website, and you can play with it. So like console log is like printing something to the screen. But one thing like we could do is also we could use like the date element. So it's something that's inside JavaScript by default, and you would call it like this. So you would do new date to do a new date element, and then you can use it like so. And what it does is that by default, it will give you the current day. So Friday, 9th of December, 2022, and the current time because I'm in Paris, France. And the thing you can do also is that you can init this date with a specific year, month, day, and you can do this with like a string. So for example, I could do 2022, for example, 10/08. If I do this, you see it's Saturday, 8th of October. And if I do this with the other API, it would be, for example, 2022 for the year. Then it's month, so it's 10th, and then, no, 8, sorry. I was forgetting, because Americans and Europeans, we don't use the same order. So that's why we also have these libraries. And you see, so yeah, I mean 10th of September, but you get the idea. So you can initiate a date element like this. And what the cool thing you can do is that you can store it in a variable. For example, const my date, and then you can do things like, please give me the year for this date. So get full year, yeah, it's better. 2022. Get year is like the number of years. I don't remember which one, but most of the time you will do get full year. The year you're in. You could do get month, so 8th. And remember that in JavaScript, in all programming languages, month and days, they are zero indexed, because everything in programming is zero indexed. So Monday is 0, January is 0. So like December is 11, and Sunday is 6.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to keep in mind. And by the way, in the chat, if there's anything you don't understand, don't hesitate to ask. If there's a topic that is not, that is not about a topic about your project, that is not specific to this one, don't hesitate to ask. We're here, we're doing these live sessions to like be available. So don't hesitate to interrupt, to ask questions about anything.
Yeah. And so basically, what you can do now is say also ask for the day, and you will see that for my date it was so this was oh no, actually a Saturday, so maybe I'm wrong. Let me check. If I'm asking for like a new date, so let's take today.
But maybe Sunday is 0, no, if it's the American format.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. I'm kind of like I'm a bit tired, so maybe I would be slow because basically that's the thing with dates. You've got Europe, US, also other countries that are doing this. Otherwise, then you've got also to adapt to programming, which is zero indexed. So you're like, it's really easy to do mistakes. That's why we have libraries for this. Because now if I
And
do
actually,
my
sorry, we're working on a new documentation, so we're revamping the documentation and publishing the new one next week. And I think we will do a lot of work on the date formulas to remind. I got stuck again for really a silly reason yesterday. I spent like 30 minutes on something that should take like 2 minutes. So yeah, that's something everybody struggles with. So we'll do our best to document all the date things.
Let me try, by the way, just to be sure. If I take 11th, so it's Sunday, and if I do get day, so yeah, it's 0, because you were right, Joyce. Weeks they begin at Sunday because JavaScript was created by an American, I think. So that's why. But the cool thing is that in the function, the guy really helped us. Thank you, Alan Kim, because he also set a start day, and basically by default it's 0, so it's Sunday. And for use case, like on Monday, we've done this for French people, so you can, like, if you're European like us, you can also like change the start day to 1, and then weeks they will begin, like for this algorithm, they will begin on Monday. So that helps. And then what it's doing is that this is like, give me the first day of the month. So I can show you this. So for example, if I were to do const first weekday, you see, so give me the first day for the current month. So December is 11th. Keep that in mind. And if I check this variable, it's 4th. So I will know that I will have to add 3 days before December, because the Monday was like, we are missing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday that were like in November. So what this algorithm does is that it computes the number of days. So this is basically a simple calculus to compute how many days you have between the first day of the month and the Monday. And then for every of these days that you're missing, it will push it to an array and store these dates and return these dates. So that we'll use these dates and we'll know that these are the days we need before the current month. So basically what we'll do is that we'll use this function and create this inside WeWeb. And the cool thing inside WeWeb is that you can use JavaScript functions. Let's zoom a little. So, and let's call it get leading days. And basically we'll have 2 parameters, so date and start day. So, and the first one is an object, because a date, like in JavaScript, a date, like you see this here, it's actually a big object with lots of properties and like functions, because like get day, get month, everything is in the object. So be sure when you use like parameters here to set it as an object.
Maybe you can show type of in the console.
Type of new date, and yeah, indeed, it's an object. Yeah, so this is a simple thing to know a type of like the type of every object. Element inside JavaScript. So, for example, if I were to do type of 3, it's a number. Type of yo-yo, it's a string. So you see. And then if you've got an array, you could do stuff like this. Yeah, that's true that arrays in JavaScript are objects. I forgot about this because I used to do Python, and in Python, arrays are actually arrays. But yeah, do not enter this thing. you've got no code for this. And in WeWeb, arrays are arrays. So, and then start day is a number. And so what we'll do here is that we'll copy this, because actually inside WeWeb, you don't have to add this because you're already inside the function. So you just need what's inside here. So let's switch to JavaScript, remove the return because we've got this already. And then if you've got reference errors, that's no biggie, because actually like what WeWeb is trying to do is trying to evaluate your code right now, but obviously you're missing parameters like date and start date because they are not referenced yet. And that's something we'll remove soon in a new update, because that's actually code that would work. So let's try it actually with by binding, for example, this text just to try. I will unbind it after it. But for example, now I can go in my formulas, from projects, get leading days. I can send to it the current date, so new date, because you're using formulas, but keep in mind that formulas in WeWeb, they're basically JavaScript, so you can mix JavaScript inside it and it will work. And start day will keep 0 because, I know we'll do 1 here because we put Monday, but if we were to do this like the American way, we'll put 0, like, and begin with Sunday. But in the design, it was Monday, and maybe we'll change it later. But I want to show you like the logic behind it. And you see that indeed I have the 3 dates that I will need to display first, like the 28th, 29th, and 13th of November, actually, because we're in December, so I will change the design. But you see that we have like the 3 first days that I will need to display. And let's change this already. December 2022. Okay.
And
now,
of course, we'll variabilize the
yeah,
the month later, but
yeah, exactly.
just
Right now, I'm
easy.
doing the logic just for the current date. But what we'll do then is that we'll also specify the month to the algorithm. So we'll be able to say, okay, then I have to adapt because now I'm in like November 2022, or even like in the future, maybe. And instead of like doing new dates, we'll specify a starting date according to what the user wants. Then getting the days for the month. Pretty easy too, like it's doing an array of an empty array that will contain all the days, giving the current dates. And what it does is that it's getting the full year, the full month. And then what it's doing is that is asking for the last day of the current month. So I will show it to you because that seems weird. But if you're adding 1 to a month, you're getting to the next month. So obviously now it will be January 2023. But if you're asking for the day 0, it doesn't exist, because here it's actually the real day in the month. So a month begins at 1 and ends at like 28, 29, 30, 31. So if you ask for the 0, it will get back in time and get back to the last day of the previous month. Let me show this to you. So if I'm like new dates, I'm asking for 2022. Current month is 11. So if I ask for 12, I will be, and here we'll also change date because I'm getting to January. So you will see like the date will be 2023. Like if I were to do this with a random number, see that it's January 2023, because the 12th month of the year, because it's zero index, doesn't exist. It's like asking for the 13th, and the 13th is January of the next year. So if we are doing this with a 0, we're getting back to December, to the last day. And the cool thing by doing this is that now that we have like the first day of the month and the last day, we can ask for all the days between them included, and we'll get all the days of the month, basically. Like getting from the first day of the month to the last day of the month, we get everything. So let's just use this function. Get month Okay. It really helps if you like struggling to think about time, like it's just a huge line from like I mean really back in time and like the future, and just asking JavaScript to put you at one position and you can go back or like continue. It's always linear. Like there's no discontinuation between years, months, or stuff.
And I was gonna ask people in the chat if it doesn't make sense. I mean, today is low code. We're usually focused on no code, but today is a little bit. There is JavaScript, so really, don't be afraid to ask questions, even if you think they're silly or basic. Honestly, nothing is silly when it comes to code. I mean, or if it is, then I'm asking a lot of silly questions every day. So don't hesitate to go for it. And Mathieu is asking, how are you going to deal with the different UTMs? Any JavaScript for it?
What do you mean by UTMs? Because for me, UTMs is for marketing.
Yeah, you're thinking about the query strings for like for filters, maybe when you filter, for example, when you use Calendly, by default, there's a query string that puts you on the current month. Is that what you mean? Or are you talking about something else?
So in the meantime, I will just try my new function. So if I'm doing from project, get Monday, new date, so it's giving me all the days in December, so from 1 to 31. That's exactly what I want. And now I have one last thing to do is to get the days that are after the month, so trailing days. And what it's doing now is also like creating an array to start the dates. And here it's like checking how many days you have got in your calendars, and also checking the length of like having the leading days and the days of the current month. And if like it's lacking some dates, it will ask for the dates just after it on the next month. So basically it's like I have, let's say, 42 or like 35 days in my calendar. The day that I computed until now, like the leading days and the month day, they are like up to 29. I don't know, like I'm just it's not the right numbers, but I'm just explaining to you. So I'm lacking like 29 to 35 days. So like the difference that I will ask in, JavaScript to give me from the next month, because basically that's what's lacking here. You see.
Yeah, and Matthew was actually referring to time zone, so UTC.
So what you do normally in web dev, and we ask, like we say to people to do the same in no code, is to always JavaScript is like using your time zone by default in your browser, because your browser is time zone aware. Like you see, like the dates here, they are in Paris time, and they know that I'm in Paris, so they will change the date accordingly. But what you have to do is that every time you're pushing to your backend, and that's actually something you have to do in your workflows, you always have to convert to UTC, or at least the same time zone. The thing you would never want to have is like having different time zone in your database, because that's a mess to like optimize converts. And most of the time your server doesn't have the same time zone as yours, because your server could be like in the US, could be in Asia, we don't know. So the thing that most companies are doing, like Airbnb does this, for example, when you're booking, is that they're storing the time as UTC and they're converting like on the fly. It's your browser that's converting this UTC date to your time zone.
And do you know, sorry, maybe it's a trick question, but for example, when does it make sense to use timestamps if you're working with multiple time zones? Like, does the timestamp record
I think the timestamp is
time in
always timestamp depends if you're talking about like the Unix timestamp or like the classic timestamp. Classic timestamps, you've got the time zone in it, but still you don't wanna mix time zones in your database, so you will convert them to UTC,
okay.
even if you're using timestamps. And Unix timestamp is always UTC because it's integer basically. So in numbers, they don't like they are not time zone aware. Like this is a concept in programming. You could have dates that are like time zone unaware or time zone aware, and dates that are time zone unaware. They don't even know which time zone they are in. So by default, you would think they are UTC. And when they're time zone aware, they're like, yeah, you've got this notation telling, yeah, I'm like, I think I can show it to you. Like I'm doing new date, and I think it's ISO timestamp to ISO string. And you see, this is a string. This is a date that's time zone aware because like I have the year, month, day, time.
This is UTC because this is actually GMT. Because
Yeah,
in France right now it's 15:28, and we're
yeah.
one hour
This is
ahead.
UTC. Yeah.
UTC.
So it's to something. I don't to date string. Let me check. No. Yeah, I don't know the API by heart, but maybe we've got it to GMT. No, it's the same. So to local. I think it's to local time string. Yeah, I will try to
don't
find it.
worry about it.
Yeah, I don't remember. But you see, like even the API from JavaScript is giving me like UTC because that's like the best practices among developers to always use UTC. Because the problem is that, let's say now that you have push notifications or like you want to send email to people at a specific time, if you've got different time zone in your like backend, that will be a mess because you will send emails at the, like for example, you will say 2 a.m., but it's like 4 p.m. for them, and you will still send email to them like at this time. So it's always easier to have like just one time zone, which normally should be UTC. So let's do this function. And it's taking leading days and month days, which are arrays normally. So, and we'll have to adapt it because we don't have like 42. You see here, there's an uncoded 42, which is the number of days he's got in his calendar. But for
because
us,
he's got 6 rows and 7 days, so that's why it's 42.
Exactly.
6 times 7.
And we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got one less, so 35. Add formula, get trailing days. So I need the leading days array, month days array, and I will paste this. So 35 and a small loop. And as we said on Monday, we could do everything here using workflows. Here I'm doing this with JavaScript, but maybe like in a later video, we'll show you what to do with no-code workflows, because basically this is just simple computations, variables, and loops. So you can do everything in workflows. But I think it's also interesting to see that you can use like complex algorithm inside WeWeb and then use them kind of like a no-code way, because you're calling formula functions, JavaScript functions as formulas. So kind of like it. So if I were to do get trailing days, first I need the leading days. So let me do get leading days new date and give it 1 for Monday, and then get month day new date. Still is giving me only 1 because we'll only need like the 1st of January apparently. So that works. Now, what will happen is that I will have 3 arrays of dates that I will need to concatenate into one so that I could bind it here to my collection list. But also what I want to do is to be able to, for the leading days and the trailing days, I want to be able to kind of tag them to say, those are not part of the current month. So actually you will display it, but I need a way to like display them differently and maybe disable them. So what we'll do is that we'll transform like these 3 arrays to one big array of objects, with one key being the number, so like 28, 29, 30, first, so that we can bind it, but also one other key that could be called anything we want, for example, is deactivated, that will set to true for leading days and trailing days, because when they are deactivated, we want to display them otherwise. And for the days of the current month, we'll set it to false because we will use them differently. So one thing I've done on Monday, maybe I can show you what I want to do on a simple code editor, so that you'll be able maybe to understand better. So new file, it's JavaScript. Okay, you know what? Dates.js. Okay, create file. So I have my leading days that are like this: 28, 29, 30. I will remove GitHub Copilot for the moment. Then I have like month days that are everything from 1 to 31. Okay, never mind. Then I've got my trailing days that are only 1 for this specific example, but it could be different. And what I want basically is I want to merge those 3 into one big array, but I will lose the context of those are leading days, those are trailing days, those are month days. So what I want to do in the end is having something like this. Are arrays of objects. So those are objects, and maybe the day is, for example, 28 is deactivated true. Then having the same for like 29 and 30. Then from 1 to 31 here, false. But 31.
So creating one big array that you can feed to the calendar element.
Exactly. And that will be context aware of like if the date is actually something the user could use or not. So I will want to get this. And do not worry, for this we'll use like a no-code workflow, because basically what we'll do is that we'll loop over the first array and push it to the last array with the deactivated. Then when it's month day, we'll do the same, but deactivated false, and trailing days, same, deactivated true, sorry. And the cool thing is that because we're keeping the order, because arrays, that's the whole purpose of arrays, they are ordered, we'll still have like the right orders for the day, and that will work. So basically what I will do is that I will create a global workflow, always better, that I will call get days for calendar. But I will be able later to like add parameters to it. But for now, like let's just use the current date and hard code it. But like in the next live, we could like change the date to say, for example, we are not in the current month or the current day. Maybe we want like the previous month, the next one, or like 6 months ago. But at the moment, I like to do this even in no code. I'm doing this in code, but in no code it's the same. I like to check that things work when hard coded, and then you variabilize some stuff, because otherwise you'll get a lot of like, that's something we see with users. You get a lot of errors, and you wouldn't know which is causing which errors. It's always better like to start simple and then kind of work on this.
Yeah, I was preparing earlier today. I was working on my talk for the API Days conference, and I was looking at common web development principles, and one of them is fail fast, and that's typically what you're talking about, Q. Or if you do it little by little, then you fail right away. You see there's an error, and you fix it, and then you can.
Yeah. And you know what's causing the error, basically. It's easier to identify. So first, I will return
And
the
by the
value.
way, I noticed as well, because right now there's the advent of code, and it's very interesting because every day there's a new problem that you have to solve in code.
Yeah.
I'm very bad at this, but the one thing I notice is they always give you a small test file, like an input
Yeah.
file, a small input file. So you test your code with that instead of, testing on unknown data or a big data set that is going
Yeah.
to take a long time to process.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really cool. The advantage of code is really neat. So right now I'm like generating the current date. That's something that I like both of these things, like return a value here also. I will variabilize like both of them and giving them as parameters to my workflow next time. Right now, I will just use hardcode them. So first day is like Monday, so 1. Now I can test it. So yeah, Friday, December 9th and 1. Okay. Now I want so return a value. I want get leading days. It will be an array. And this is basically from projects, get leading days, and then current dates and current and start day. And you see, I get 28, 29, 30. So that's cool. Now I will want to get all the days for the current month. So return a value. I don't know if people were aware of this because we shipped this, but I'm not sure.
I discovered
We,
it on
yeah,
Monday during the live stream we did in French, and I'm usually in charge of writing the changelog, so I know for sure that I did not announce it in, in the
okay,
changelog. But
it's really
maybe
cool.
people found it on their own.
Yeah, it's to
And yeah,
create internal variables inside workflows because workflows, they are basically big functions. And sometimes you want to create functions that are scoped, variables, sorry, that are scoped to a function, so to a formula or a workflow. And that's how you would do it, like returning a value. And like this prevents you from creating global variables because if you create a variable here, it will be global. So anytime you're changing this somewhere in the app, it will change. And sometimes you just want stuff that's part of only this workflow.
yeah, and actually that's it, because we used to, before, you had to create temporary variables, and those temporary variables were global, so
Yeah,
it caused a lot of other it can cause a lot of other problems, and typically to debug it becomes very difficult because
yeah,
you don't know where those variables are used or how often.
yeah, exactly. And then the training days. So get training days. And you see how you use them is just like like in normal workflows, basically, you would like use the results from the previous actions. And because it's return a value, this will be actually the results of the action. So now kind of leading days and month of days, and this works. So if I were to test it from the get-go, you see leading days, month days, training days. Cool. One thing I will do though is I will create a global variables to store all the days for my calendar. So we'll call it for days. And that's actually an array, which is empty. And first thing we'll do in our workflow is to reset this variable to be sure that, because every time I will test this workflow, it will append a new date to it. And in the end, I will have like too many dates. So I need to reset the variable at the beginning.
Does it make sense to everyone, or is there a step that is unclear? Looks okay.
Nice. Okay, so now what I want to do is that I want to loop on all the leading days, the month days, and the trailing days to add them to calendar days. And also add this key is deactivated on the fly. So first thing, I will loop. And I will loop on So loop on leading days. So I will take all the leading days, and now I will add leading day to final variable. So it's change variable value, calendar days. And the cool thing is that also since a few weeks, we've got this. So before you were obliged to rewrite the whole array or whole object when you are updating it. Now you can like update only one item, insert at the beginning, at the end. And so what we'll do now is that we'll do insert at end because we'll keep the order of the days that we have in all our arrays. And in the end array, it will have the same order. And what I want to do is to create an object with the day, which is, so I will have to test my loop actually. So the day is the item from my loop, and the key is deactivated is true because it's a leading day. And so what this will do is that it will loop on all the days from the leading days and create an object with the value of the day in a key called day, and true for is deactivated. And basically for the trailing days, we'll do the same. And for the month day, we'll do the same, except true will be false. So let's do a new loop. Loop over days. Then here it's month days. No, it's not loop. Sorry. It's here, month days. Nice. Actually, I just discovered that we'll need to fix the UX for this. We'll need to add a test on the loops too, because right now I have to test the whole workflow. But that's something I think we'll add pretty soon. So add month day to final variable and variable value. Days, insert at end, create object. Day is the item in my loop. So loop over month days, item. Then it's deactivated, false. Yes. So now it should work. And the last loop over 20 days. It's a bit repetitive.
I was going to say, so these 3 steps are what you showed us on VS Code.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's just mentioning it in case it's easier for people to visualize.
Bring day to final variable. And if you know JavaScript, you could like write this in like 5 lines. So that's the thing also that I like with WeWeb is that if you don't know, you can still like do workflows and use formulas that are really visual. But if you're like knowing JavaScript, you can also write this as a function and it will be done in like 5 lines.
And I mean, the advantage of doing it with no code is, for example, if you need to collaborate with people, maybe you know JavaScript, but maybe your team or your future team, if your project goes well, you might hire a team, but you might not be able to hire junior developers. You might only be able to afford like junior no coders. And in that case, if you think about scaling your app, if you remember that your app is just like code, basically, no code is like 20% building and 80% maintaining and collaborating. So no, in that sense, even though it takes a bit longer to set up, and maybe it's a bit heavier than JavaScript in this particular case, basically there are pros and cons, and you need to decide what works for you.
Exactly. So now if you see calendar days, we see them here. Let me push this bigger. So you see 28 deactivated true, 29, 30, then deactivated false, and then deactivated true.
And actually, a big improvement I want to do on this preview is being able to fold that variable, which is taking a lot of space.
Yeah, that would be cool indeed. So now what I can do is that I can go back here and items. I will use my variable calendar days. And you see I have the right number of elements, but every one of them is an object. So for the text, we'll change the binding to the item data day. And here I have my days. So it's working. And now what I can do is that, for example, I can apply
my favorite
a different
part of this use case.
When this works, I can change the background color, for example. So let's say the background color is.
You're on it. You're on it right now.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Now I can do is if is deactivated, so it's true or false. So you just have to do this. You don't have to do equals true or equal false. Then I want to use a simple grayish gray. So I think it's big color from page is this one. So F9, FA, FB, F9, FA, FB. Otherwise, it's black. It's just black.
It's black or it's white?
It's for the FFF. Yeah, because it's the background color, so FFF is white. So you see, like my numbers, they are kind of grayed.
Actually, maybe you can. Can you tell us in the chat if you can see it? Because I mean, it's subtle. Otherwise, maybe we can. Yeah, I think you can see it now.
And I will do the same for like the text color, but so because here it's kind of a gray too. 94 A3 B8. So if deactivated, otherwise here it's black. And that's it. Maybe it will be like easier to see if like just for one moment something like red. So you see, because these numbers they are deactivated, they are red, and the other ones they are black. So that's why I wanted to tag them in an object.
That's really cool. It's one of those little use cases where I think like the WeWeb is magic. It's really nice.
Just kill my function. Yeah, this works. And the thing we'll have to do, like for maybe next time, is like variabilize this according to the month. And you see here also I have like small issues because maybe it's hard to see on the stream, but like the background color is overflowing because the container has got border radius. So what we'll have to do is that we'll have to apply a corner radius for the first cell at the top left of the cell and for the last cell at the bottom right. And to do this, we'll use the index. Basically, is it the first index of the list or the last one? And if it's the case, we'll change the border radius for this to match the container. And also we'll variabilize according to like the current month. So right now it's like December, but if I were to click here, I would like to see maybe November or like September, and we'll change this on the fly in our workflow.
Maybe I mean, you mentioned it before, but the days of the week as well, depending on the browser's language.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that should be a cool thing to do next time, because if I begin now, we'll be here like for 2 hours still. So, but yeah.
Well, very cool. Did anyone have any questions about this project or other projects? Anything you're working on that you want to tell us about? Now would be the time. Otherwise, we'll just leave it at that for this week and catch up with you next week. It's funny. I like noticing like people who join on YouTube and then on Twitch, and you see people the numbers going up and down. It's kind of funny. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions, so that's fine as well. We hope you all have a really cool weekend. Do you have any plans, Q?
For this weekend, yeah, maybe a small party at my friend's, but nothing huge.
Nice. And we'll have brunch with Aurélie, our
Yeah,
lead
true.
front-end developer,
Because
on
she's in
Sunday.
Paris. So yeah.
Where is she coming? Is it for the one of the games she's
I think
organizing
so.
events for?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for showing up. And if there's anything you need, don't hesitate to reach out to us. In the product chat on Twitter, wherever you prefer. Bye, everyone.
Bye.